What is up, YouTube? This is Nanashi back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Banlist update video. So before I get started, I just want to say I'm sorry for the oversaturation of Master Duel replays lately. I know it's not the content most of you are here for, but I've gone through these long periods of nothing happening on my channel between ban lists and podcasts, and I kind of always hated leaving it that way, so I thought I might experiment with other types of content, and the Master Duel replays just happen to be really easy and fast to make. But now that we finally got this ban list, I can finally start making the content I want to make again. And I gotta tell you, this list was huge, mathematically speaking. They changed 25 different cards on this list. We haven't seen a list that big in a while, have we? But while the numbers are big, a lot of these changes they made feel really soft. And you'll see what I mean when we take a closer look. 5 cards total have been banned. First was Cyberstein. I don't think anyone's that surprised. This card is just horribly unbalanced in today's game, and it's the cornerstone to a lot of well-known FTKs. Or even if you don't use the Reaper-Dacus charging cell route, you can just pay $5 grand to get a negation-style fusion or a floodgate fusion in an extremely fair trade. Next is number 89, Diablosis the Mind Hacker. What a shame, honestly. This card went such a long time without a home to speak of, finally found one in Kashtira, and then just became a nasty win-more piece. Genuinely tragic. Next is Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow. Now I already knew the Super Heavy was going to be an issue as a one-card engine, but I didn't realize it was as powerful as it is. That's what I get for not paying attention. Next is a Pointer of the Red Lotus. Getting a look at the opponent's hand and banish sniping a single card, even as a Saki one-of, is absolutely infuriating to deal with. And finally is Branded Expulsion. This card acts as a really obnoxious lock with cards like Ra's Disciple and other monsters that prevent the player who controls it from being able to summon anything, basically shutting off the game for one player, and that had to stop. Now 7 cards have been limited to 1. First is Blaster Dragon Ruler of Infernos. We were all kinda hoping this would happen. Blaster is the least threatening of the 3 Dragon Rulers that were still banned. So long as the other 2 stay where they are, we should be okay, I think. Plus, it makes good sense with all the incoming fire good stuff. Next is Mathmech Circular. This guy was an insane combo starter and setup piece for going first or second, being able to dump a resummoner and triggering its own spell trap search in the direct process. This makes the combo less consistent. Next is psy-frame Gear Gamma. I think we can all agree this was just infuriating, being able to negate any monster effect, plus it led to a deck thin in the process, unless you dead drew the Garnet. Now, the only deck that will use it is likely psy-frames. Next is Denglong First of the Yang Zing. So Yang Zing finally got its personal combo piece back, good for them. It might get abused by Dinos again, or possibly Sword Soul since they used the Tenyis, but I genuinely hope they don't, because Yang Zing needs this. Next is Kashtira a Rise Heart. We were wanting a hit to cash, but I don't think this was the right one. I would have preferred Shangri-Ira myself, but at least the soft once per turn banished really will be once per turn now, I guess. Next is Pearly Delicious Memory. This was completely unexpected to me. I didn't know Pearly were doing this well competitively. And finally is Naturia's Sacred Tree. Excluding the blends and just talking about Naturia for a moment, they got some seriously good support recently, and it being easily searchable off of Tree was going to be an issue. Then if you add into it the mixes like Vernus Sylph, what's left of the Ishizu Earth Fairies, and blends with more competitive archetypes, this seems like a wise hit. 6 cards have been semi-limited to 2. First is Herald of Orange Light. With the Ishizu Earth Fairies hit like they were, it makes sense for this to come back, even if I'm not a fan of the card itself. It basically imitates and emulates the way psy-frame Gear Gamma worked for certain decks. Next is Kashtira Unicorn. I mean, yes, this slows down the access to Birth and the other annoying spells, but their Monster Searcher is still at 3, so it feels like a moot point. Next is Lightning Storm. Incredibly versatile board breaker, easy to meet activation requirements, it kinda makes sense. Next is Runic Fountain. Now this is what I call a pointless hit, Konami. They literally have a fusion that searches exclusively this field spell. They never needed it at 3. Next is Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. Way to add insult to injury in as little as 2 lines of text, giving back the archetypal pod of greed. I don't care if they got another Link 2 coming, it's just excessive. And finally is Sprite Startle. The spell card is searchable by Jet, which is searchable by Blue, which is searchable by the spell you just put to 2. Oh hey, that rhymed. You haven't broken the resource loop, you haven't slowed anything down, you just gave them a free slot to play with. Finally, we get to the cards that are now back to 3. First is Blackwing Steam the Cloak. Yet another collateral damage hit due to Hulk abuse finally fixed, plus as a bonus, the new Blackwing support will welcome him with open arms. As if they didn't already. Next is Gen X ally Birdman. This guy has been limited for about a decade or so due to an old Mist Valley loop FTK that also required Ancient Fairy Dragon, but since she got errated, it should be okay to let it come back. Until a new variant of this combo comes out, of course. Next is Samsara Lotus. This was a preemptive ban to stop a really obnoxious FTK loop with Bomber Dragon and Catbat, but some of the consistency pieces were hit, so I think it's okay to let it come back. But I'm expecting some tribute loop to abuse it to no end. Next is Spiral Quick Fix. Not a smart idea, Konami. The card search is still not once per turn, it's still a machine dupe target, it's still an Earth machine on top of that, and Master Plan may still be banned, but I don't think that's going to change enough to allow this guy to come back to 3. I think this one's going to bite him on the ass. Next is Lyralus Recital Starling. This card was led back to 2 a while back without too much difficulty, so letting it come back to 3 probably won't change much. Next is Draco Face Off. It's about time, Konami. You took forever to let this one come back. I mean, did it really have to take a Draco Slayer wave of support coming in before you would let this card come off the list? Really? And finally is Sky Striker Mecha Modules Multi-Roll. Ugh. I mean, Hornet Drones is still at 1, and that's good at least, and they didn't let Engage come back to 3, but Multi-Roll makes all of them reusable to some degree, so it just feels like they're giving too much love to a deck that doesn't deserve it. And that is the whole list. I have so many mixed feelings on this list. A lot of their bans and limits were spot on, but the light touches to cash show they don't want to let the deck go yet. And the releases on cards from Striker is very concerning. But even with all that being the case, I am excited to try and get back into the game again. I'm already planning a new version of the Dino deck, as well as an upgrade to the Thunderstun build. Spirit's got a ton of support, and I might be working on an upgraded version of the Gusto deck, so regardless of which deck I update, I have a lot of work to do. And in the meantime, I thank you for watching the Banlist video, and if you have any opinions about it, feel free to say so below. In the meantime, this has been Nanashi, signing out.